Greetings, comrades, and welcome to the Rad Gaming Podcast. I'm Jemshi.
And I'm Pescador. And in this episode of the podcast, we interview AshleyRoboto. AshleyRoboto is an amazing artist who recently exploded in popularity on Twitch and social media. In this episode, we discuss why relaxation is key to productivity, how to eliminate self-doubt when creating content, and why you shouldn't shy away from inviting your real-life friends from your Twitch stream.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Cento Fiore. Cento Fiore is a lifestyle fashion brand that sees beauty and cultural heritage and always strives to offer timeless and elegant style. Visit cento-fiore.com to join the family. That's cento-fiori.com. And also, the Rad Gaming Podcast is also sponsored by Big Heads Media. All right, now on to the podcast.
Ashley, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We truly appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
So first off, let me see this yeet behind you. I see this nice little... where'd you get those balloons from?
Okay, people ask me this because I got them from Party City, and like all four of them were like $12 together, and I've only had to blow them up one time with air, and it was like almost 2 months ago, and they haven't lost any air. They haven't changed at all. They're like magical, and they're just there now.
What made you get yeet of all things and put it in balloon form?
Yeet just turned into a really big meme in my stream. And I got those because I wanted to get something to have behind me on the wall for my 2-year stream anniversary. And when I was in the store, I just saw these, like, for whatever reason, I saw the balloons and I immediately was like, I know exactly what I need to get because I'm dumb and I have the most ridiculous sense of humor. And I had to get them. And everybody, as soon as they saw them that day, were like, you are never allowed to take those down. I'm like, okay.
You're not allowed to yeet them off the wall.
Yeah, no yeeting the yeet balloons is exactly right.
I've seen like some of your posts and they're actually really hilarious. And they like took the old school, what is it, the 80s logo, and you put some of the funniest like wording I've ever seen.
Oh,
like, what made you come up with that idea?
Well, for a long time, I only saw that format of like those pictures very rarely. And it was my favorite because like the ones always saw like, oh my God, like what the fuck? It's like, oh, that's going to be a yikes from me. And I'm like, that's the funniest thing ever. And I'm like, you know what? I need to put some stuff in there. So I was just sitting with my coffee one day and I literally just Googled 80s retro meme generator because I knew it was a generator because I've seen so many words and I found it and I just kind of had to go off on it. And now I keep seeing them all over Twitter and it makes my heart happy.
I've seen people do their own. They like took your phrases that you got and they were so excited they wanted to do their own. And now I've seen like, I'm pretty sure at least 4 or 5 different ones. And that's because I wasn't even paying attention. It just happened to scroll across it on my feed. But so you said that you started streaming 2 years ago.
Yes, I started streaming May 16th, 2017.
Oh, you got the exact.
So what did you do before streaming?
What did I do before that? Okay.
Yes.
Oh boy. I've been doing art for a while. I dabbled very briefly in indie game development, but it just didn't really work out. A lot of very small indie studios don't. It's just the way it is, especially because at the time I had just left school for animation. I went to school for 3D animation, and so I started to work on 2D art and whatever. And my 3D stuff was being used in this game. And then the scope of the game got like narrowed a lot. So I started to do 2D on the game, which was then my actual job because by then I was working doing art. And I'm like, well, I make money doing 2D art all the time. I can't put all of this time into making this 2D art for free because I have to pay my bills. I just can't keep up with it. Right.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while, and for years, even like sprinkled in alongside all this stuff, I dabbled in like YouTube Let's Plays, and I did a little something, like a few videos with my ex-girlfriend in college, like YouTube Let's Play stuff. but it was college. We were way too busy to keep up with it. And then we eventually broke up. So obviously that ended. But I ended up getting a commission for a Twitch banner and offline screen. And I'm like, oh yeah, like I made a Twitch account way back when Twitch Plays Pokemon was a thing. Just because I wanted to be able to chat. And I'm like, oh, this is unfair. I want to be able to chat if I can like participate. So I've had this account sitting forever. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I might actually try to stream because I didn't really like YouTube that much. It was a lot of work. Like streaming is also a lot of work, but it's just for me, I jive more with like this form of content creation that's just kind of like you're hanging out with people and you're not just talking to yourself kind of thing. But yeah, it just kind of, everything is snowballed together to bring me here in a weird way. It was really cool because the guy who got me the commission for the Twitch banner was one of my friends that I worked on the game with. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, everything just kind of...
Yeah, I was about to ask how you got that commission. So is that, like, I see that's also something you do, I guess, is that in addition to your Twitch stream, or do you say that's on the side, or how do you feel like that fits in?
I actually like to say that I'm mostly an artist. Like, being an artist is essentially how I pay my bills. That is my main form of income, and Twitch is more of my side thing now. Twitch used to be, like, on par, kind of. But then I realized that if I really pushed myself with my art and gave myself more time to do it, I could definitely just grow it more. And so I took a day off of my stream schedule, threw it into my art. And ever since then, I've just been kind of hitting stride with that. Instead of taking like one day a week and like some work on weekends, I do 2 days a week with art and weekends, and then 3 days with streaming. And it's all just a good time.
So how do you, I guess, budget your time with that? Because I'm like, when you're like doing your commissions and your art and stuff like that, like it's kind of like that doesn't just like come up. Like how do you market yourself? Like what kind of strategies do you do? Because like, I mean, obviously it'd be really cool if you just always had people requesting stuff come in. I mean, maybe that is true now, but I guess at the start, like how did you kind of budget your time figuring out like how do I find people to, you know, do commissions for?
Yeah. I think my biggest thing with trying to get work and how I marketed myself was post things on social media. And a bit ago, I was doing like commissions every now and then on stream, which didn't help as much as like Twitter did and Instagram actually. And I just started to make friends with people, and my friends would commission me. And then my friends' friends would see my work and be like, oh, hey, that's actually pretty good. And now it's just kind of, it's honestly all word of mouth stuff. Without some of my friends that I have that have commissioned me, I think the person who really kickstarted my art just being seen in general was Play with Jambo. She commissioned me once. I didn't even know her at the time. That's how we met, was she saw a drawing of mine on my Instagram story and was like, I want one. And so I'm like, okay. And she commissioned me. And then ever since then, we've been like best friends. And I've met a lot of awesome people through her. And through that, people have wanted to commission me. And then it's just kind of gotten a lot bigger than it used to be, which I'm so grateful for. This year has been very kind to me with my art.
That's awesome.
For
and
sure.
I know that in marketing, they say that one of the best forms of marketing is just like a friend or like, that kind of reference, like a real life reference, as opposed to just being like shown like art. And then you're kind of like, that looks cool, but
yeah, hearing someone's trusted opinion on an artist is like key for sure.
Right. So I guess that was like, I don't know if that was that intentional, or was it just kind of like you were just pushing all that effort into, kind of doing commissions and doing well. Cause that's another thing that a lot of people kind of like overlook, is that you have to actually do well on your artwork when you do a commission for someone. Like if you were like getting a lot of people to come in and you were like, oh, well, my like demos and prototypes and all that, like, your rough drafts and everything all look great. But then if you just like kind of, spend like 10 minutes on somebody's artwork, they might kind of,
yeah, you have to really, you have to back up your work a lot, or back up your reputation. I don't know how to phrase it. You have to be good, which I never used to be. I suffered a lot with imposter syndrome for a while about my art because I was like, I don't deserve people commissioning me, Like, I just feel like I hadn't, even though I did, like, I hadn't put in the time, which I think is a big thing that a lot of people suffer with online in general, is just imposter syndrome. But, yeah. It's weird because it wasn't intentional. Like, I didn't come to anyone like specifically advertising my commissions. It was all just very public on all my social medias. And I feel like I just got lucky with people seeing my stuff when they did. Like, I work so hard to put all my stuff out there and make it look nice and make my branding behind it really nice and look professional. But you can put all the work in the world into your stuff, but it doesn't mean that people are going to see it all the time, which is unfortunate. But you also have to, like, on the side, it's not all about making your stuff look nice, even though that's a giant portion of it, because if you don't have that, whatever, you have to try to make friendships and stuff too, because, yeah, networking. It always comes down to networking.
On that note, I was actually going to ask you, do you think networking has contributed to your success as an artist?
Yes. Oh, yes. Like, leaps and bounds. Leaps and bounds. I definitely noticed that this last month, even, since I hate saying that I've been more popular, my audience has grown, I guess. Like, the people's eyes on my content has grown, and it's definitely grown my, like, customer base, my client base, rather. And I feel like without that, I wouldn't be remotely as successful, because I've been getting a lot more commissions this past month because people have seen my stuff and whatever. And yeah, I never go into anything, like any friendships or networking opportunities, being like, I'm going to use this person for it, because I just genuinely love making friends. Like, I genuinely love the friends that I've made on this website, on Twitch, Twitter, the internet. And I feel like if you support your friends, they'll support you too. And, like, if you help your friends grow and you give them, energy and attention and love, they'll return the same back to you. And I feel like that's the best way to grow on the internet, is growing with friends.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Honestly. And I think that a lot of people fall into the trap of follow for follow when they first start out doing stuff like that too. Like, I see a lot of posts and stuff, but I did notice that when we first reached out to you, you were somewhere around 2,000 followers on Twitter. Mm-hmm. In the last month alone, you've almost doubled in size. How did you go from 2,000 followers to about 5,000 right now?
So, as I'm sure you've seen, but for those of you who have not, I have done a lot of videos on Twitter. I love making, like, silly little videos. Most of the time it's me dancing around with, like, words popping up and whatever. So that's one of my favorite types of videos to do, just because they're really fun. They're relatively fast, but I can still, like, put my heart into it, and it won't take, like, an entire day. I posted one that was basically just be nice to people, because if they're not hurting anyone, then what's the point of spending your energy trying to be mean? And that video blew up. And I was kind of, like, shocked, because it really, like, I posted it one morning or early afternoon, I can't remember. And I just kind of let it go, and I was watching, and I'm like, yeah, it's doing pretty good. That's fine. And then the next morning I woke up and it had, like, tripled. And then I had friends messaging me like, oh my God, did you see, like, what the hell your video's at right now? And I'm like, yeah, I'm very aware, and I'm very afraid. Because, like, when I was being messaged, people were like, oh my God, it's at, like, 7,000 likes. Like, I had a message from my friend Luxie, and she was literally in bed at 5 a.m. and she's like, I just woke up and I saw that your video had so many likes and I'm crying. And I'm like, okay. And then it just kept exponentially, like, growing, because the more people that retweeted it, the more, like, bigger creators saw it and also shared it. And I know one of the absolute craziest things to me is the UX designer for YouTube Live retweeted it.
Wow.
And so eventually, I think right now, I don't actually know, but I'm pretty sure it ended up at around 37,000 likes and like 500,000 views.
Dang.
Yeah.
So how do you come up with content like that? Because I know content, you're naturally creative. Obviously, you're an artist. So, I mean, but for people like me, I don't know about Jemshi. Jemshi's a little bit more creative than I am, but it takes a lot for me to come up with things and even think things through, to even plan them out and even act upon it. Because some things you like think about, you're like, oh, no one wants to see that, you know? And I'm sure you didn't think that your video would do as good as it did.
No. Oh my gosh. My goal for those videos is to hit like 200 likes, maybe. Like, hey, if they hit like 1,000, that's like absolutely phenomenal. So, yeah, it's wild. It was wild what happened. But that is why I got so many followers. Like, that tweet alone got me an obscene amount. Like, I was scared to check my Twitter following, like, because I just didn't want to see it anymore. Because I'm like, oh my God.
Right? You're like, I don't want to like open it up and be like, whoa, I went down. Like,
yeah, like, whoa. But it's funny you ask how I come up with it, because honestly, it's literally always last minute. Or like, I never have them planned. Like, some people who, bless them, because I wish I could be like this, have like a notebook of ideas. Never in my life have I been that organized. So I honestly am just like, hey, that's pretty smart. I'm going to do that. And I feel like if the longer before I film it, I come up with the idea, it's almost the worse it does. Like, if I will be like, I just want to film video today, or I'll just be sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, hey, there's a random idea for a video. Or like my friend will say something in like a group chat and I'm like, oh my God, suddenly idea. Because it's always last minute. Something will always just jug my brain and I'm like, sick. All right, time to go and make this thing. And because the videos that I do don't take very long, it's not like I have to plan it out, because I can just, flip the camera on, go and like change focus and go dance around and be a dumbass for like, I don't know, 20 minutes, not even, and then throw it on my computer and edit it. And then I'm gold.
So I've seen you in your lobster costume.
Oh yeah. Oh,
what made you decide to hop in your lobster costume and start dancing around?
Okay. So randomly I decided to change all of my donation alerts on stream to just be silly things, because all my bit alerts are animations that I made, pixel animations. And I wanted my donation alerts to be different. So I wanted them all to be GIFs of me or just silly things. And there was one clip of me on stream, on my birthday stream this year, of me doing the crab walk through my balloons behind me here. So I'm like, okay. So I took that and I sped it up and made it like boomerang back and forth and just put the crab rave behind it. And that was one of my alerts. And there was... one of my now mods, this was a long time ago that this started, he would love to trigger that donation alert all the time. And he called himself like Krabby Daddy for whatever reason, because he's like the father of this alert now. He like, it's his.
Yeah, it's
I'm
his
like,
baby
okay.
Now.
Of course. So after that, people just started associating me also with crabs. So I had a donation goal for a DSLR camera, which is what I'm using now, to stream with, because I just love having a nice camera quality. Cameras have been my thing, because like I've always wanted to be a YouTuber and stuff. So like cameras have always been beautiful. And I said that at the end of this particular stream, I was doing a little bit of a sellout stream because I really wanted it. And I still feel weird about them, and I still feel weird about it, but hey, whatever. But I said that if we hit that goal in stream, I will buy a crab costume, and I will do the crab rave on stream in my crab costume. So it happened, and then I did, and now...
Don't make promises. That's what you got to live by now. I've seen like people on Twitter promise things. They're like, if this hits 1,000 likes, I will do X thing. And they're like, I'll never do that. And then all of a sudden it hits 1,000. Like, dang it, I have to do said thing. And it's just, it's fun for everyone though. It's fun for your community.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about community in general, you said networking is important. Did you create your own Discord community by any chance? Or do you go and associate with a different Discord community?
No, I have my own Discord community. I have pretty much since I first started streaming. I love Discord. I think it's super awesome. And I just love having a community there. I love being able to talk to people from the community outside of stream, like whenever. And I always love like instant messaging systems. So just having a Discord that's just a giant instant messaging system with my whole community is the coolest thing ever. And I love it. Everyone's super wholesome and really nice and supportive of everybody in the community. So it's always a nice place to like hang out no matter what, just to read everyone else's nice messages to each other and whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I've met some super cool people through that, and just people coming into the Discord and like getting to know my community has been way easier because of that, which I feel like helps grow a better and stronger community, because I myself am limited with stream time. There are some people who can stream for like 8 hours a day, even or more, like 7 days a week, or however, like multiple streams a day. Yeah, and I am very much so not able to do that. I feel like my maximum with stream time is around 6 hours, and that's when I'm like really spent. And I also, since I have to do my art, I can only stream like a few days a week. So the fact that I can also just have that avenue to be like, hey guys, what's going on? How are you today? This is my day today. And like, this is what I've done today. These are pictures of my animals, like, and just stuff like that you can share. It's really nice.
So are you on the Discord?
Because I lack the time.
Are you on the Discord like daily? Like, I guess, what's your, kind of how often are you on your Discord and interacting with people?
I'm on my Discord every morning, and I try to check in throughout the day. It all depends on how busy I am. I know my Discord's always fairly active with other people talking, which I also love, because I don't want my community to just talk to me. I want them to be friends, all of them, right? Which they feel like they really are. Like I call my community the Roboto Fam Jam, and we, like, everyone always says that because we are like a family. Like everybody gets along and supports each other. So I check in periodically. I can't always stay talking all the time because I'm working. Basically, if I'm not streaming, I'm either working or I'm relaxing. So I try my best, but it's very difficult sometimes to keep up. But yeah, I try my best. I feel like if as much time you can put in as possible is the best, because I don't think you have to put a whole ton of time in, especially if you've cultivated a nice and supportive community and it's just like a bunch of friends hanging out, and you don't always have to be there, which is super awesome.
Right, just like usual friends. Like not every friend needs to be hanging out with you to be a real friend or true friend.
Yeah, exactly.
So when it comes to creating content, you have a ton of followers now. You have a community itself. So you're representing your community, and you have, followers that you kind of want to please with your content.
Yes.
Is there ever a time that you're deathly afraid to maybe put out a post, or maybe, something that you're really like, I don't know if this is maybe personally controversial or anything like that? Because sometimes I feel like I'm sure, Jemshi, you've been there as well. When we post on social media, there's some things that like I want to say, and obviously like you shouldn't say, but it's just tough to get your voice out there. Do you feel like you get your voice out there enough without, feeling
like you're censoring
or being yourself, I guess? Yeah, thank you.
I think so. Honestly, there are a lot of times where I've actually was just talking about this today, is seeing other people have like really mean takes about things, like judging other people pretty harshly for stuff that's not hurting anyone. Like I see that all the time on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I totally wish I could just be like, please just calm down. But if I say that, people will be mad at me. But I honestly just think it's not worth it, which is why I'm so happy that the video that I made that blew up is the one that blew up, was because that's totally my whole philosophy. Is like, honestly, they're not hurting anyone. There's no point in being mean to them at all. Like,
so your philosophy is staying out of the drama?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I hate I hate drama.
Some people
It's
make
so
a living off
exhausting.
of it on social media. That's what stinks. That or
Mhm.
Twitter. So I mean, on Twitch. So I mean,
Yeah, for some
Oh,
people
yeah,
it's easy, just
Twitch.
it's easy content creation because you can always just be like, oh, I don't have to like think about myself. I can just go and look at somebody else's
Mhm.
life and comment on it and make some kind of, statement.
Yeah. Which, all the power to them. It's personally not for me. I don't watch drama channels. I don't watch drama streams. I don't really
You don't bite whenever those
consume.
kind of posts come through.
No, it's just not worth it. And I know what it is, right? It's all just like, which is all social media, so whatever. It's all just trying to get engagement. And there's so many different ways to get engagement. And I feel like my philosophy with social media is just, I'm just trying to grow and be nice. Like, I just want to be a positive little corner of Twitter because I know that all that stuff is so prevalent. And I don't like talking about it like this because I don't want to seem high and mighty and like I'm better than anyone, because I'm not. But I just don't want that to be my content. And I just want to be nice. I just want to make people smile. I don't want people to look at my content and be like, oh, that made me feel shitty for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
I don't.
Right, and you also create
Like-
that kind of like attitude and vibe, in the community, because people will always be like, oh, and you're really cynical and, critical of somebody
Mhm.
else. That's kind of the people that will be in your community. Like everything you do will
Yep.
be kind of like
Yeah.
what can I take down about this, as opposed to like, oh, let's laugh about the fun things. The crab costume was fun, like it's all
Yeah.
like enjoy this.
Yeah,
you-
for sure.
you said you don't like watching drama. So
Mhm.
what do you like watching? What shows? What movies? What are you excited about?
Okay. So ever since I was very young, like I'm talking like as soon as it hit its stride, I've watched YouTube Let's Plays. And that's honestly what I'm the most excited about because it's funny and it's just games. It's not talking about other people. And there are channels that talk about other people while they're playing games, but whatever. Like the Game Grumps, who are super wholesome and super kind, and like that kind of stuff is really awesome. I like watching really silly conspiracy theory things on Netflix. I think that's just funny to like watch all these like.
People take
You don't
Just
believe in any of them?
I don't think so. I can't really think of one off the top of my head that I'm like, oh my god, that's totally what happened. I'm just very like, you know what?
I have to say I agree. I don't
You don't
know
think the
if I
pyramids are
believe
built
in
by
some
aliens?
conspiracies.
Oh no, I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think so. Like the what is it, the watch or something that was in the hieroglyphs or whatever. Everyone's like, oh look, he's like a time traveler man, had a watch and they saw it and built it in hieroglyphs.
Yeah.
It was just some crazy stuff. It's so like, honestly, it's not hurting anyone. So I just watch it and I'm like, man, some people are so passionate about this stuff. And it's cool to see people so passionate. And I feel like the more passionate people are about their conspiracy stuff, the more I enjoy it because it makes it entertaining.
Right, they
I
aren't like,
love that
skeptical of what they're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
so whenever, because you like you
Yeah.
said, like they are talking about somebody. Oh, some people believe this. You're like, no, we have the believer here. Here, she
Yeah.
is ready to just
Yeah.
explain everything
Here
for
they
us.
are. Oh yeah. And that's also I've watched a lot of BuzzFeed Unsolved because of the same thing. Because they have two guys, one that's a very strong believer in everything that they're looking at, and then another that's very not. And it's also like two sides of the same coin. Also just hilarious. And I really like a lot of wholesome content like that, where they're just friends doing things. I feel like a lot of what I watch is friends doing things.
Or friends doing things. Like we're doing a podcast, playing games together. Sometimes we yell at each other, playing games. But
Yes.
such is life, right?
Yes. Yes.
You seem like the kind of person that kind of goes with the flow. So has there ever been a situation in which maybe your chat has got unruly or something, you kind of just brush it off, or do you normally nip it in the bud? Because you seem like you don't really want to get too much into confrontation, but
Oh yeah, I'm very anti-confrontational, but when I do have to tell people off, I will. It's like one of those things. It's like I don't get pissed off very much at people. I get like when I do, I will just snap at people. But I have picked my mods in stream very carefully because of that. because I know that I have a good chunk of mods that take no shit. That even like if someone starts to like push it, they're like, no. Because it's people who push boundaries constantly and constantly and constantly. They're never going to stop being pushy and on the borderline. But I have had people that have come in and have just been weird the whole time. And then they say like that thing that gets them immediately banned. And I'll like give a sassy, snippy response to them. Because it's just like, why? There's no point in being this way.
I don't see you being sassy and snippy. What is your, I guess, like your dad joke of a snippy comment that you make at people?
I usually throw on a funny voice and mock them. But through myself, like the last time I can think of that it happened was somebody came into my stream and was just trying to be really philosophical and weird the whole time. And everyone was very confused, and we're like, you okay? Like, we're literally just doing nothing. Just, you can calm down. You don't have to be like 100 right now.
Solving life's
and
questions.
Then eventually, it is so weird. And then he said at the end, which got him banned, was that women are homely and are afraid to go outside. So I don't think he knew what homely really meant. So I was like laughing. And then I'm like, oh man, I'm so scared. I can't go outside anymore. I don't know what to do. And I'm just like, ah.
That's pretty good.
And it's just stupid stuff like that is what I do. I'm like, man, oh, you got me. Oh boy, look at you, you crafty little bugger, you. And then I just laugh and continue on with my life.
So what did you do when starting out on Twitch? Like, I know that there's a lot of work that goes into it, you know, like seeing that where you're at right now, I know it wasn't a very simple journey. There was a lot of things that you went through. So what, can you kind of walk us through like you starting your Twitch stream and kind of what you did and didn't do that you feel like helped contribute to your success?
Oh yeah, for sure. When I first started, I really just wanted to play retro games. That was kind of my thing. So I had a group of people that encouraged me to start streaming. And I'm like, I really don't want to start streaming and just like talk to myself. Because like, I would feel really weird because like, I don't even know. There was just something back when I first started streaming, I was way more shy of a person. Like back when I started streaming, I would never even remotely think of doing this because I would be terrified of talking to anybody, right? Like I was terrified of talking to people new and everything. So I had a couple of my best friends that were like, oh yeah, we'll totally hang out and chat. Like we'll be there for your streams. Cause at first they were like 2 hours long. It wasn't a whole lot of time in the day. It was only a couple days a week. I think it was like Thursday, Friday at 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. Basically. I'm pretty sure those are my only, anyways. So I started out with 2 dedicated people that hung out with me the whole time, which really helped because I always had stuff to bounce, like someone to bounce my commentary and stuff off of, which I feel like a lot of people starting who just have themselves and a camera chatting to themselves. It's way harder. Like I couldn't imagine starting off at that jump off point because I kind of got as many of my friends as I could to come and hang out with me. Which they did, which I'm super grateful for. There's like a handful of people that have come and hung out with me and everything. And I started to get like other viewers who came in and saw that I had like an active chat at like 2 viewers, which was pretty funky. And they would hang out and I would talk to them. And one of my mods actually is my very first regular I ever had. And he's been around since like my 3rd stream ever, I think, 3rd or 4th. He came in very quiet and like we started to slowly kind of talk and he was a big lurker and then he started to talk more and more. And he's literally, I think, missed maybe like 3 or 4 streams since. Like,
well, that's awesome.
I got so I don't like putting it all on luck, but I think I just got really lucky a lot with the people who would support me. And I'm like so grateful for just the people who like hung out. And I know that I've been more fortunate in starting out than a lot of people are, because a lot of people stream for like a full year and they don't have much growth. But even when I first started, I kind of wanted to make friends on the website because that's all that I really wanted to do, which is what brought me more to Twitch, is that I saw that it was way more of a personal community kind of thing, which YouTube is like, yeah, you're there and there's people that are commenting on your videos or whatever, but it doesn't feel as much like a community as being able to talk straight to your viewers, right? And the fact that I had my friends as my base for my community really just solidified what I wanted my community to be, which is just a bunch of my friends. And the more I streamed, the more I tried to like branch out and find other streamers to like bring my community to like mesh with and grow. And I feel like I've made some of the best friends just picking a random raid target out of thin air that was playing the same game as me. And then ever since, we've been like close and talking, and our communities have meshed and everything, which I think really important too is like when you make friends, like if you make friends with someone who's got a good community and you have a good community, your communities will also be friends and know each other and start to talk to each other. And I think the meshing and growing and just branching out in communities is super cool and really important. And I feel like I'm still like, I hope I don't ever stop like meeting new friends and stuff that way.
So do you target people when you go to raid people? Do you target people that you don't really know too well and try to make friends that way? Or
I used to for a while, and then I had a couple times that I raided that it wasn't really the best experience. Like they either straight up didn't notice and weren't paying attention.
That's the worst.
So I'm like, okay, sorry guys, because like I'm very interactive, so I don't want to bring my community that's used to me being super interactive to someone who literally doesn't give them the time of day, which hurts me because
you feel a little bit responsible.
Like I brought my people. Yeah, like I'm responsible for bringing my community to a nice place. I don't want to bring them to some place that's awful. And that happened a couple times. And now I just try to find people to raid when I'm not streaming. Like I'll try to look at people's content when I'm off stream. I don't even ever really have to talk. I just kind of lurk. I'm a serial lurker a lot of times. I don't say hi in a lot of streams that I'm in just because I'm usually working, and I'll put like a stream on in the background or a few. I just like to lurk and try to support people that way as much as I can. But yeah, nowadays I basically just raid people that I follow.
People that you know.
Which has always worked out for me now. And I've made better friends that way too. Just like making friends on Twitter, which is honestly, ever since I started using Twitter, that has helped my growth and everything more, because I feel like Twitter is such a good social media platform. And I feel like everyone finds Twitter the same way. Like they join Twitter, they're very confused and don't understand how it works. They leave Twitter and they come back to Twitter again like a year later and are like, no, what? This isn't so bad. That's exactly what happened to me. And that's exactly what's happened to like most people I've talked to.
So what did you do on Twitter? Like, so when you started out, like where along the timeline did you start kind of jumping on Twitter and pushing social media a little bit?
I honestly, Twitter, I really started to focus on Twitter at, I think, December or November of last year, because I always had it and I always kind of used it, but I was kind of one of those people that just maybe posted my commissions every once in a while and then like going live tweets. And I didn't really put a whole lot of myself on there, and I didn't really comment on other people's stuff, and I don't really know why. Because that's a big thing for me. Is I know it's hard because I was a shy person. I still kind of am, but I was way more of a shy person. That I started to actually comment on people's things that I saw, and even if I like didn't know them, I'm like, hey, this is like a great picture, or like, hey, this is hilarious. You're fantastic. And it's just trying to be nice and be like, hey, you're cool. And I like follow people and then talk. And then I just started to make more and more friends that way. And then a couple people that I followed and like interacted with a few times would follow me like on Twitch and on Instagram. And then it was just kind of like, oh, hey, suddenly we're friends now. And it's just.
So it was more about just being an active user. You weren't Like, it was just,
Yes.
like, you, like I said,
Honestly,
like, on
yes.
Twitch, you just were a lurker, you would kind of just scroll in the feed and look and see things, and you're like, cool, and then scroll past it. Instead, this time you were like, oh, well, let me like it, comment,
Mhm.
start, putting myself out there through comments and interacting with others
Yes.
to, yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. I mean, like, a lot of people don't really realize that just scrolling past a post is like, oh, I wish they would talk to me. It's like, well, I need to be the
Yes.
person that might need to be the one that initiate
Oh,
that
yeah.
conversation.
So,
I totally agree.
have a lot of your friends help you out with your confidence? Because you said that a lot of people hopped into your stream in the very
Yeah.
beginning, or a few people have hopped into your stream when you first started streaming. Do you think that helped your confidence? And
Oh, yeah.
even on
Yeah.
Twitter, like people commenting on your posts and things like that to make you feel like maybe I should say a little bit more about myself. I feel a little bit more confident in putting that information out there.
Yeah. I was always pretty upfront about as much information as I still have out there. Like, I obviously don't want everything out there. Nobody should have everything out there. I think that's just not advisable in this day and age.
Yeah.
But yeah, just people like making more friends and making the internet feel like more of a close community to me has totally helped my confidence, and it's totally helped me want to put myself out there and like start like dressing nicer and taking better care of myself and things. I feel like in the same amount of like when I started streaming, I had been with my boyfriend for like a little less than, no, not even a year, but he had really pushed me into starting to stream as well. So I think a lot of things at the time that I started streaming were changing, where I was focusing more on my art, which made me feel confident because it's something I always wanted to do. And I had like a new relationship, which was making me feel more confident. And I had a lot of friends, and I was just like connecting with older friends again that I had lost contact with that were helping me and pushing me. And I feel like there was just like a wave of people all at once being like, yes, you can do this. You can, if you just do it, just do it. And then I'm like, okay. And it just kind of hasn't stopped. And I feel like that is one of the coolest things to me, that I really try to give back to people, because without those people pushing me to be and do what I want and be who I want to be, I wouldn't be streaming. I probably would have like given up.
Still been the
because
shy
streaming is
person you were
hard when
before.
yeah. I've grown so much as a person from streaming and all of the friends that I've made along the way. Super.
I actually think that's
It's
really
been an
interesting
awesome-
that like even when you started streaming, a lot of people think that I need to be this like very sociable, outgoing person, and you kind of said like, oh, I started out like not really being those things. I was just kind of like, oh, I really want to do this, but maybe there's certain things about me that I may not be there yet, but let me just go out there and try. And then because you did that, it was actually helped you formulate those things faster than probably you would have like, oh, I'll wait until I'm an outgoing person. Like, okay, that might have taken 2 years, and you're like, oh, that's 2 years I could have been streaming, and now look where you're at.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I honestly am always like, if you feel like you want to do something, just do it. Just try it. Just take the plunge, just jump into it, just go and try. And the worst thing you can do is fail and try again. Like, if you try to do something that you put your heart into, people will notice as long as you keep doing it. It only takes a matter of time to start to be noticed, as long as you are trying your best and like putting your heart into things, which for a while I'm like, I've been streaming for 2 years, but I feel like just this last like year has been when I've really started to hit my stride. Even 2019 has just really been when I've started to hit my stride, even though I've been working at it and starting and like ramping up for the past over 2 years now. It always takes time, and it's just how much time you're willing to put into something and how much effort you're willing to put into something. And I'm very grateful that I can, and I have the time and ability to do that, because I know not everybody
and I think
does.
also because you said like you have the time to do so, I think it also helps. Just I've seen with like your personality, you're like, oh, just do it. Like you don't really hesitate when you're trying to make a post. You just do it. Like there's like hesitation leads to procrastination almost. Like you're like, oh, well, the more you think about it, the more you don't do it. It's the more thinking, less doing. And I think that's how you're like, oh, I have time to do things because I don't ever spend time hesitating and waiting to, make that post. You're not sitting there like, what post should I make? It's just more like, I'll make the post when the idea comes and then I'll do it. You know? I think that's actually a really good way to kind of budget your time so that you're not ever, waiting for an idea to come, or, you kind of wait for the idea to come as opposed to like waiting around for like you literally dedicate time waiting for an idea to come to you as to what the post.
Yeah. I still struggle with just like doing something because every once in a while, like if I have a period, like I'm getting a lot of ideas and I'm like, hey, like I'm getting an idea every couple days. And then I get into the habit of like, if I don't get an idea every couple days, I'm losing it. Like what's happening? I've lost my mojo. Now everything's going to crash. So I have to sit and I'm like, oh my gosh. And that's when like you make bad content is when you're panicking. And it's always a never ending struggle to just like take a break and calm down, which I feel like is something that a lot of creators struggle with is like not always being on. Like you can't expect yourself to be on all the time or like have having a schedule for stream. Yes, that helps growth and stuff, but you won't always be in the best frame of mind at that time, and knowing to take the time for yourself so you don't get burnt out and so you don't start to like weigh on yourself. Super important.
Yeah, and I know that creativity, like a lot of people say, is like creativity comes from boredom. Like if you don't have those down moments, or not down, like the downtime moments, where like things that you're not doing much, that's where your brain is allowed to wander. Like if you're always focusing on like I need to make another post or something, like your brain is never relaxed. It's never taking a break, and it's never just allowed to wander.
Yeah.
And even to build more off that, actually, they said that being out of your comfort zone actually really builds your creativity as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you kind of experienced both of those on both ends of the spectrum. I mean, you were a very creative individual and you came out of your comfort zone and then you create this amazing content. So that's truly amazing. But I also wanted to say, with all of this stuff we've talked about, we love asking this question, but I got to ask it again. What is the one piece of advice you would give aspiring streamers or even content creators for that fact?
Okay. I honestly...
Oh boy.
Piece of advice that I would give is, you can rely on your friends or like ask your friends for help or like advice, which helped me anyways. Just don't hide your passions from the people who care about you, because the people who care about you will want you to succeed, which is what I did, which started for me and which made me start streaming. So tell people when you're passionate about something that you want to try something, and 9 times out of 10, they'll be there for you and want you to succeed and help you. And just having support behind you can help you get the confidence to keep going for however long it takes to really succeed to whatever your goals are. You'll hit your goals if you just have a great jump off point.
That's a fantastic point. And honestly, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We truly appreciate coming on at such short notice.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. Oh my gosh, it's been a freaking pleasure talking to you.
This is really fun.
Totally. 100%.
And thank you for listening to this episode of the Rad Gaming Podcast. You can check out our guests by clicking the link in the description.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and rate and subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever else you listen to podcasts.
We release a new episode every Wednesday and Friday. And as always, stay rad, comrades.